Welcome back to the Canon Factory, an elegant podcast for a more civilized age. I'm your host, Sean, and I'm joined by
Matt,
Richie,
Brennan,
and then I'm Mike.
and Adam.
And we're cruising along with 100 Days of Star Wars. We're moving and grooving towards The Last Jedi. You guys are following us. I know you are. We're into the Clone Wars. We're past episodes 1 and 2. We're in the thick of it. Ike Lacey, Clone Wars enthusiast. How's it going for you?
I don't know if I would consider myself. Well, I mean,
Ike Lacey, Clone Wars watcher. How's it going for you?
I'm enjoying it. We had a pretty good discussion about it this week.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, on our Slack chat there. But yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying it. I know Matt and Brennan. I'm pretty sure they've watched it all the way through. So we were kind of bouncing some ideas around.
Sure.
I mean, I don't want to like recap every episode because that just seems. I mean, that's a lot.
A bit much.
It's a bit much just to watch them, let alone try to sit here and recap them all.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think like the thing that we were talking about this week that I kind of brought up to the group, and maybe we can get this discussion rolling again here, is about Anakin specifically.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it's because we're semi-binge watching them, but the relationship that Anakin kind of has going with Obi-Wan, I'm not feeling to be 100% fan of it.
Okay.
Not because they have a bad relationship, or not because I think it's necessarily an atypical relationship, or not something that would be like what's expected, if you're Dave Filoni writing these episodes. But it seems like the end of every episode, it's like Anakin went and did that thing that I asked him not to do again. Ooh, it's almost like the trope of
right.
And maybe it's more season 1. I haven't watched in depth every single episode from all the seasons.
How dare you?
Like we are now. I watched some of the arcs, but
right.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that that's a big deal? Do you think it's out of the place that these? It just seems like the Jedi also, mostly Obi-Wan, just kind of seems to be disregarding the fact that Anakin basically does whatever the heck he wants.
Well, the first thing I would say is that this show started kind of before binge watching on Netflix was a thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, these episodes are written, they're going to reinforce the same themes, that being that Anakin disobeys. And the other thing I would say is that it is a kid's show.
No, it's not, Richie.
I mean, there's some adult themes in there.
There's some adult. I'm just saying no because I don't want to sink to that level. I'm not spending
adult show
40 minutes of my life on a kid. I would never.
Of course not.
I would never do that.
Of course not.
So it's obviously.
I mean, how many times have you watched?
If it were a kid's show.
If it were a kid's show, we derailed quickly.
Yeah.
10 minutes in here, boys.
If it were a kid's show, then
say it were hypothetically.
Yeah, right. In a hypothetical world, Star Wars Clone Wars television show was a kid's show, then this maybe would be how they would write episodes. They would just kind of cover the same ground.
I mean, we also got to ask Obi-Wan's personality and character. I mean, how many times do you see him actually like freak out over situations?
Yeah, he does.
He seems to keep his cool over everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the fact that Anakin is the chosen one, and the Jedi believe that. Do you think they're going to be like, well, you did this wrong? Or they're going to be like, oh, you're the chosen one. You probably know better than us.
Right. Well, he's the chosen one. We can't fire the chosen one.
Exactly.
It does flow pretty well from episode 2 as well.
Yeah. I'm just saying, having watched it, and again, like I think Richie made a good point, maybe because we're binge watching it, it just seems to stick out a little bit more. But I feel like it's getting almost like there needs to be a laugh track inserted. We're like, like some like cheesy do music like every
Did
time.
I do that?
I think we were joking around like an Always Sunny in Philadelphia type theme
like
on the
Curb
Slack
Your
chat.
Enthusiasm.
Right. It's like, I don't know, or the Arrested Development, and Anakin disobeyed again, or Anakin would obviously follow the rule. I'll follow the rules, Master. Anakin
would
did not follow the rules.
Yeah.
Like.
Shout out to Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Episode director of Han Solo.
Episode
director
3.5
of life.
I don't know.
Thank you, Richie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I think
Sean?
that it's definitely a kids show, and it's a kids show that
High
we
five, Sean.
can enjoy. That being said, I think that Richie raised some good points that the theme does kind of have to be established every time, and watching it like this does kind of make it like difficult.
Yeah.
Especially because it is canon, and so from our nerd point of view, when we're trying to say like this is all the events that happened and this is the way things went down, and we get to episode 3, it's like, well, no doubt Anakin was going to do this because the writing's been on the wall for the past 5
that's
years.
a good point.
So I think you're right too, though, that where Obi-Wan doesn't really freak out ever.
Well, on the flip side, right? Like if he did right all of the time, like if he did the right thing all of the time,
it wouldn't make any
it wouldn't
sense.
feel comfortable.
Correct.
So he kind of has to.
Right. It's
Be a
all
huge
about
character
balance.
flaw.
Right.
Even when he was a child, he was still reckless.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, 8-year-old pod racing.
So what else about the whole thing? Oh, Richie has another comment, I think.
It just kind of occurred to me, just sitting here thinking, we have Clone Wars, which takes place between episode 2 and 3, and we have Rebels, which is between 3 and 4. I think it would be cool if Dave Filoni ever wanted to do it, is to get one between 1 and 2, where we have like Anakin, like little kid Anakin to Hayden Christensen Anakin, because I feel like those are probably formative years that we missed out on as far as his character, because I mean that's a good 10 years.
Right.
Yeah, I really liked the comics, the Annie and Obi comic book.
Oh
that takes
yeah,
place
good
in
point.
between there,
I've forgotten about that.
where you actually see Anakin kind of deciding that he wants to leave the Jedi Order, and Obi-Wan's talking to Yoda about it, and Yoda's like, if that's the decision, then he can't be he can't be trained by a Jedi. And Obi-Wan's like I know, that's why if he leaves, I leave too, because I promised to Qui-Gon that I would train him. And Yoda's like, you've got this, you've learned too much from Qui-Gon in that sense, type of thing. Like, you're gonna do your own thing now.
Right.
And at the end of the day, Anakin obviously stays, and Obi-Wan stays as well. But it would have been we were talking about alternate universes the other day, and it'd be really interesting to see what would have happened if Anakin and Obi-Wan left the Jedi Order, and how things would have went from there.
do you think Anakin would have followed Obi-Wan?
Well, Anakin would have left, and Obi-Wan would have followed him.
Ah.
And then they wouldn't have the constraints of the Jedi Order anymore, so they could act more freely. Because
Right.
there are scenarios where Anakin's like, well, we have to save and help these people, and it's like, that's not our job. That's not what we're here for. And he'd get frustrated with that. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, if I have the ability to save these people, and the group that I've joined that is supposed to save people, and they won't, why would I be with them?
Yeah.
So, but that being said, Richie, yeah, that time frame is really interesting. I think there's space for those types of shows, and in between almost all the episodes, between 7 and 8, that won't be a thing. But that is also a good space for the comic books, and that's where they fall in.
Yeah.
And that's why they have basically the freedom to create infinite content, because there's enough years in between.
It's just interesting because arguably your main character is Anakin, so it's weird that, I don't know, I just feel like, and I'm not saying that Clone Wars is meant for 12-year-olds.
Right.
No,
if it
we would
were,
never say that.
I already said it.
If it
As
were,
12-year-old men, we would not sit and watch this all day.
of course
Not
not.
old. Speak for yourself.
But if
I'm
it
the baby of
were
the group,
meant
so.
for 12-year-olds, it would be kind of interesting to have a show where Anakin is actually like 12 years old.
Yeah, I mean, we have Ezra, who's basically the same thing as 12-year-old.
They kind of go that route with Rebels, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
Because you're kind of following someone who's the demographic is meant for.
Yeah.
And Clone Wars has Ahsoka.
The Clone Wars,
Correct.
yeah, I would say that's a good point. Ahsoka
Yeah.
is kind of that
She
outlet.
fits that role.
Shout out to my girl.
Ahsoka,
If you guys didn't know this, she's my favorite.
yeah.
She's probably my favorite non-on-screen character.
Ashley Eckstein, fantastic.
Yes, she does that so well. She's one of the people in Star Wars that is their character.
Right.
Harrison Ford is Han Solo. Carrie Fisher is Leia. Like
Billy D.
What's that?
Billy D.
Billy D. Yeah, Billy D. for sure. Lando. Like,
Yeah.
and Ashley Eckstein, or how'd you pronounce it? I always say Eckstein, but
I mean,
yeah, however you say it, she is Ahsoka. Like, she owns the character.
yeah.
So, along the lines of what Richie was saying, I have maybe a question for Sean. Is there anything that fills in the gap between 2 and Clone Wars? Because I was a little disappointed that it doesn't pick up
That
right after
small
2.
spot. I think non-canon anymore, but the original 2003 cartoon series did.
That one's cool.
Canon-wise, I do not believe there's anything out there.
There's
can't
no
think of
comic
anything
books
either.
or anything like that.
No, there's no comics.
No.
Yeah, so that is a I mean, I don't know how long, but it's just like maybe 6 months tops. It's not long.
Because I think an interesting, because at the end of that movie, I mean, Anakin doesn't do what he's supposed to do in that movie. So it would be interesting to see how that is handled. Like, what are the repercussions of that? Because we get out of it, and first episode of Clone Wars, it seems like everything's good. Anakin's on his own. We don't know, if there were any repercussions for what he did
for
at the end of
disregarding
episode 2.
For getting married, falling in love, very blatantly showing that, and then jumping into fight Dooku for revenge.
Yeah, but how many actually knew he got married? Because in Clone Wars...
No, nobody... I mean, I'm going to say that Obi-Wan knew for the most part. I
think Obi-Wan knew? I think Obi-Wan knew he had feelings for her, but I don't think Obi-Wan knew they actually got married.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Obi-Wan's very wise.
You were saying
that's true.
After Phantom Menace.
He's saying after Attack of the Clones,
after Attack
before
of the
the
Clones.
Clone Wars.
I was just jumping on Wikipedia here.
Yeah.
So outside of Clone Wars?
Outside of Clone Wars.
Right, before Clone Wars.
Yeah, so that Mace Windu comic that just came out is technically, but I think there's only been one part come out that I've read at least. I don't think any came out today because today would be release day.
Right.
And that looks like it. But that's basically a Clone Wars episode, like at least for what we've seen so far. It's basically like what you would see in a Clone Wars episode, but from Mace Windu's perspective, going in doing his own little mission with a few Jedi. And
I will say this: watching the episodes, like the Clone Wars episodes, in canonical order, it's been fantastic because you get to actually know the troopers as you're seeing them played out. Whereas if you're jumping straight in, I'm like, who are these people? I have no emotional attachment to them. I haven't seen their struggles getting to where they are. You see that with Heavy and Fives and the rest of them. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Sure.
So that is a good point. I also wanted to point out there's Kanan's comic is because it follows him as a kid,
right?
And Darth Maul, son of Dathomir, finishes up essentially the Clone Wars pre ROTS.
Have we gotten to the clone training episode yet? Where it's like it just follows the platoon trying to get through to the Citadel.
Yes, Fives and
Yeah.
one of
the first episodes, Richie. Come on now.
Yeah, it follows.
I couldn't remember.
It follows Fives and
Heavy, Cut Up, Echo,
Yep.
and I can't think of the other.
Yeah, so basically, like all of the major clones outside of Wolf and Rex,
and Commander Cody.
and Cody. Yes, correct. So most of them, kind of the ones you kind of follow throughout the Clone Wars.
It was a cool episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other? Sorry, not to take over hosting. Sorry, Sean. I guess.
I
Are
don't
there any other things? I mean, I don't want to spend forever again, like I was saying earlier.
Sure.
Necessarily talking like deconstructing the Clone Wars because there's a lot we could go through. If we went through every episode, we could spend an hour probably on each episode.
Here's the real question: how many of you guys are up to date with the episodes?
I'm like I'm only like a day or two behind, but I've been catching up on the weekends. So got some raised eyebrows over here.
I'll be honest, guys. I need to come forward here and say I'm nowhere close up
You're
to
a
date.
schmuck.
I'm a little bit of a schmuck.
You know,
but
you got these people listening to our podcast here.
Right.
You've been pushing
I'm
shoving
just
it down their
here-
throats, and you ain't
well,
even following it.
Man,
It's
I'm
all right.
trying.
You gotta.
I got
Adam, how about you?
I got school.
Adam's just
Man,
shaking
you're
his
just
head.
gonna start calling everybody out.
I'm
These
so-
poor guys.
Yeah, Brennan, if you could not
more
just-
and more
just
legitimacy
throw
to our
us under-
podcast. Every single
Matt-
question with every
Matt,
question.
come on
you
now.
ask.
Matt's up to date.
I have watched 2 episodes of Clone Wars. So,
Have you watched the? You haven't watched the movie. That's what you got stuck, right?
yeah, I got stuck on the movie because I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Richie.
It's on Netflix.
I think I'm 2 behind.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm a day. I think I'm a.
Looks
I
like
think
your
I'm
boy
4
Brennan's
behind
the
2
only
days.
one who's up to date.
Go, Brent, go.
Man, I'm
Maybe
so
a
proud
little
of
bit
you.
ahead of time
In my-
because I'm
in my
going camping
defense.
this weekend, and I know I'm going to miss time. So
So,
There you
Brennan,
go.
what's your favorite episode so far?
Oh, good question.
I mean, the obvious answer is the clone training episode, but I do like seeing the one. It was like last night, Anakin handing over the reins to Ahsoka and having her lead her first mission, and absolutely get like jumped on, surprised, and
Right.
wiped out, and then her learning that maybe flying by the seat of her coattails isn't the smartest thing to do, but there should be some planning.
Unless
in
you're
it.
Anakin.
Yeah, unless you're
then,
Anakin.
and then it is.
And then that's how you always do it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, moving on. We've had some rather large news come through where Colin Trevorrow is gone, no longer the director of
Bye,
episode 9.
Felicia.
And coming back is our good old friend J.J.
Mr.
Abrams. Coming back. He rebooted the series with episode 7. He's going to bookend this trilogy. How do you guys feel about Mr. Abrams coming back?
Good.
All right, thanks, Richie. Next. Now go ahead. Why?
Well, I mean, I feel better about it than I did about Colin Trevorrow. Mostly
Yes.
just because
Or
I was
Trevorrow.
not a big or Trevor.
Every time, Brennan. Every
Yeah.
time there's any type of thing that can be pronounced two different ways, like, well, or this. Like one time, it was like 30 seconds later, and I'm just like, Brennan, is it needed? just like I just want you to think about it. Is it needed?
It's not needed.
All right,
Hey,
cool.
Sean.
Richie, anyway.
I care about the quality of our podcast.
Yeah, so do I, which is why I'm telling you to shut up.
Can't tell. Sean's had a long day. It's a bit spicy today. Spicy Sean.
A little Sean
If I'm
spicy.
not
It's a lot of
mistaken, I
love.
could hear a little bit of that New York accent coming out there.
Hey,
You know.
I'm walking here.
I'm walking here.
Just watching him.
All right, Richie, anyway.
I appreciate Brennan's dedication to.
All right, you've chosen your side.
good.
Noted.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Jurassic World. I thought it was a huge missed opportunity. I didn't think it was directed well. So I was a little baffled by Trevorrow, whatever, however you say his name.
See, now we're stuck on it.
I'm a little baffled by
More baffled than the choice
his
of Ryan.
choice. Yes. I see Ryan. I don't see Trevorrow as a choice.
You're a little baffled by Ryan. Just out of
I'm not
curiosity?
saying that. I didn't think Looper was that good. Like,
Right.
so all the hype of like Ryan's gonna be the best. Like,
I think people were excited because he was going to do something different. Like we saw Colin come in and do Jurassic World, and he didn't really take that many risks, and it was very similar to the other Jurassic Park movies.
that's the same thing with JJ.
right, and I understand
So
that.
how
I'm
much
not,
is that? How
I'm
much
not
is that
arguing
his
for JJ right
directing?
now. I'm just saying why I'm excited about Ryan.
How much is that his directing, and how much is that like, hey, we're trying to
and
reinvigorate this
that's-
franchise,
and that could be true.
do something safe to get the masses to
Well,
watch
see,
it.
I think that's the interesting thing is that these directors are kind of taking double roles. They're directing and they're writing. And JJ, I think he was the right person to get us started off. He did a great job with Star Trek. I think he did a great job with Force Awakens, despite, people's shortcomings with similarities to A New Hope.
And I think those are all legit shortcomings too.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I still think JJ was the right person. The reason why I didn't feel good about Trevorrow was writing, less so than directing, but writing because again, like Sean said, he just didn't take any risks.
Did you write Jurassic Park or Jurassic World?
I mean,
I'm pretty sure he did.
and even if he didn't, it's like I don't know. It's kind of a team effort when you're making a film, and when you're the director, you can make calls that could be more creative. I don't know. You just played it super safe, and I didn't want Episode 9 to be phoned in.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I'm not a director. I just
it was
say
it
that.
was
know-
directed and co-written by Colin.
Do we know
Right.
if his written version of 9 it was done, or like is
It
that
was-
going to stay?
I'm going to guarantee it wasn't done because as we learned, the general story wasn't written out before these movies took place, so nobody really knows what was going to happen in Episode 8 until it was done.
I'm sure he had.
So, I mean,
he had to have some sort of.
I'm
base
sure
idea.
in his
Let's say,
in
is
his
JJ
mind,
starting from scratch, or is he going to take from?
I bet he'll start mostly from scratch. But I mean, filming starts in January.
And I'm sure at this
So
point, I mean,
he's
these guys. I'm
gotta be
sure.
moving.
I bet he knows now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already watched it.
Oh yeah, I mean the film's been done.
Right. So I'm sure he's probably starting at least from scratch, but he has at least some idea
Yeah.
of what he's doing.
So do you think it's going to be like a George Lucas type thing with the prequels, where he's like, "Oh, I wrote this last night. Let's change this."
No.
No.
This is something that we
Or is that 'cause
talked about.
it was George?
Not to open a wound here, but something that we've discussed is the possibility of the disagreement being over how Leia was handled, maybe
Right.
in 9.
The potential.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
8.
I'm just trying to think of potential things that could have been the source of the disagreement with Kathleen Kennedy,
Yeah.
and that's a big one.
Was there an official disagreement? I didn't know. if it was-
I didn't. I think from what I understand, it was a mutual mutual agreement to move on. That just creatively they weren't agreeing. It was over creative differences, is what was cited.
Gotcha.
Over Leia or just
In general,
Just in
no, they
general.
weren't.
Okay.
Saying
Yeah, the
specifically.
Leia thing is just
They're not going
conjecture.
to say that for sure.
Okay.
No, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I
Just
think
guessing.
to piggyback off Richie, I think I'm fairly excited. My only hesitancies being the hesitancies I think that most people voice on The Force Awakens, which I think are pretty legitimate. Some I disagree with to the extent I think they are disagreeable points. Like I think that there's some things that The Force Awakens could have grown in, but overall I really enjoyed it and it didn't ruin the movie for me.
Yeah.
because I think he played it safe, but with the outrage and outcry from what the prequels got, at least nowadays,
Right. That was the only option he
the
really
only
had.
option was to do something really familiar and go with it. And so
Yeah, and I
to
think-
have him coming back,
Do you think he'll take risks?
even if he doesn't take risks, I think if I go and it's still a pretty non-risk movie, I think I'm still going to really like it.
Yeah.
Because The Force Awakens was a pretty non-like movie or non-risk movie, and I still really liked it.
Yeah.
So
And I think that JJ making The Force Awakens that way gives Ryan a lot of leeway to make his
That's a good
movie
point.
however he wants.
yeah,
Because
he can
now,
get nuts with it now.
yeah, the fan base is solidified and everyone's on board.
Yeah.
So now the characters are set. He can go ahead and do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And then when JJ comes back, my only fear is that he loves himself some Return of the Jedi,
Oh yeah.
which is the capstone of that trilogy.
Yeah.
So he kind
It's
of
his favorite Star Wars movie, you said, right?
right. Yeah. He loves it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how similar he'll make it to that. I think that once Episode 8 comes out and it's significantly different than Empire Strikes Back, we won't really be having the same
Those fears
conversation
will
about
dissipate
Episode
a
9.
little. Yeah.
I don't think we'll have that same conversation. And that could have been what the creative differences were, was that Colin saw how JJ made The Force Awakens and was like, well, I'll mirror the Return of the Jedi.
Well, he can't really. I mean, we don't know how 8's going to end, right? But it would be hard for him to turn 8 and be like, "Oh, here's something completely different.
Right.
Now let's find a way to force it into
Right.
a Return of the Jedi."
Oh, you're
mold."
gonna see a half-built Starkiller base in
Right.
the distance. And
Please no. Please
what?
no.
Sorry, Richie. You were ready. You
Yeah,
were
I was
raising your hand for some.
I was just gonna say I think that's one reason why I feel a little weird about criticizing JJ that harshly over the similarities to A New Hope, because it's like every Star Wars fan for the last decade since the prequels were out, that's all like anyone complained about. Is they're nothing like the original. They'll never be as good as the original. And so
Nice
JJ
angst
comes
voice.
along and it's like, yeah, that's what they sound like. But then so JJ comes along, it's like, all right, well, we don't want the prequels. We got that, so let's give people something closer to the originals. Now, could he have done that without like hitting the same plot beats? Yes. But
yeah,
it's kind of hard to criticize the guy. It's like,
I less criticize and more I'm just honest. Like, I love the movie. I love The Force Awakens. I'm happy the way it was. It was very, very similar to A New Hope. Does it bother me? Not really.
How much is that the actual movie or the fact that it's just Star Wars? Like,
Well, I mean,
I think there's some major things.
I could go on a rant about
Yeah.
how similar it is.
well, I know I'm saying, but you saying it's a good movie, is that because it was a Star Wars movie or because it's an actually good movie?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think it was an actual good movie. I mean, part of it is that I love myself some Star Wars, but I think no matter what, it was well received across the board, and it was a good movie.
I mean, Ike and I have a guy that works with us, and we heard him talking the other days. He's like, the only reason people watch the new Star Wars movies is because they're Star Wars movies. And, I mean,
Yeah, boy.
to a sense, no, that wasn't your boy, that was a different one.
Okay.
But to a sense, like, yes, that's partially true, but at the same time, I still think they're good movies. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it got a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, I think
If there's
that
And
anybody
as we-
who'd be able
and
to
as we
separate
decided,
themselves
Rotten
for,
Tomatoes is the be-all, end-all of films.
Well,
so.
I mean, for right now, in terms of rating, there isn't
No,
really
I
a better
know.
rating scale, and
I'm
I
just-
feel like
I'm just being a jerk.
for the most part, the critics do a pretty good job of separating themselves from nostalgia. Because if there
Right.
is a movie that feeds the nostalgia, and it's still like an okay movie, they still let it pretty known in their rankings that they don't really like it. So, and I think like Jurassic World's a perfect example. Like it was like there was just too many callbacks.
yeah, but Jurassic Park, go back to the first one, that was not nearly as loved as the Star Wars trilogy.
Right. But they still, I mean, I didn't look up their Rotten Tomato score. I'm still, the original Jurassic Park movie, I'm sure, has a fantastic score on Rotten Tomatoes. So what I'm getting at is just because it's I feel like Rotten Tomatoes is going to be a good indicator if a movie's a good and it's good apart from just being nostalgic.
Yeah.
Because there's movies that score low that are those rehash movies. Like Jurassic World was basically Jurassic Park and a little bit different. Like I would say you could draw the same similarities between the two, just like The Force Awakens and A New Hope, and yet it got like a 60 or 70 on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's true.
that's the thing about Jurassic World, is that it's actually a good comparison for The Force Awakens, in that it could have been great in spite of how much callback it had to the original Jurassic Park, if it just had like compelling characters in it. And that's the thing that makes Force Awakens great.
Yeah, that's a
is
good
that,
point.
There's lots of callbacks and there's lots of plot similarities, but in spite of all that, it still managed to get us to fall in love with new characters. Yeah, I mean, Kylo Ren, I've only seen him in Force Awakens, but as of right now, is like one of my favorite Star Wars characters because he's a complex character, complex villain.
Talk about
Yeah, I
angst.
think he's what we wanted to see Episode 3 Anakin as.
Yeah. So, in spite of Force Awakens' shortcomings, it still
Killing his
managed to
own
give
father?
us good characters like Kylo Ren, Rey. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And BB-8 was great.
And I think that to take it out a little bit further, I think that is, even though Disney can be Disney and really milk money cow like cash cow things, like the
How
thing
dare
that they
you.
do right is they get their characters right.
No, they do.
make their characters lovable, and everything that they pump out, like they
Nah,
really
I
make
mean-
sure that the characters are lovable. Man.
Everyone at this table loves Moana.
Moana.
I've
Yeah.
seen it about 95
It's so
good. You have
times.
two daughters,
Yeah,
And
that's
Jurassic
true.
Park, which Universal owns, is like
Yeah, DC. Marvel. Woo.
woo. I love my characters. You
I
know, like
love,
exactly.
I love
do a good
Jurassic
job.
Park, but yeah.
No, I mean he meant Jurassic
Jurassic
World.
World. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, they that's it. I think that I'm reinforcing your point that that's the one thing that I really trust Disney with is
Yeah.
they know how to do their characters and make them lovable, even if that sole reason is to cash cow the the figurines and stuff
Yeah.
and make people love them. It's still they know the
It's
formula
like,
and they
I
got
hate
it
what
nailed.
you're doing, but I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't really want to go by Chris Pratt in Jurassic World was lovable because
He was
Chris,
dreamy.
he's Chris Pratt, not because of the way that the director wrote him. You know.
The way he controlled those raptors.
Oh, put your hands out. So anyway, not to turn
Yeah.
this into a podcast about movie critics.
Yeah, let's get
but
back to
No,
the
good.
real bread and butter.
One
which is
last
Star
thing we're
Wars.
going to talk about real quick is the article says confirmed. It's not confirmed until we see it, but it sounds like there's a very good chance that our good old Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, will be making an appearance in the Han Solo film, which mixed feelings about that.
I'm so much more encouraged now.
Yeah, right. It's like Ron Howard, just bring back Darth Vader.
Have you
Think
guys?
that was his choice?
I just
Do you think that was his choice?
yeah. If he just got added now, it was his choice,
He's just gonna come in and do something cool.
or it was his
Yeah, do you
choice.
think his role is going to be like that of Rogue One? Or
No, I mean it's not going to be a major role. It's not like Darth Vader's going to be a major thing in it, but there's going to be a
Right.
scene
I hope not.
where
at
it's
least.
like, oh, climax. Whoa, Darth Vader's there.
and he's gonna do
Oh.
something cool.
But I mean, like, they're
And
not
there's
just
gonna
going to
be
have.
a lightsaber.
You know what's going to be? It's going to be like the Rogue One scene where Jyn Erso just bumps into Ponda Baba in the street, and they keep walking. It's Han Solo's going to bump into Darth Vader in the street. He'll be like, "Oh, sorry." He'll be like, "Watch where you're going," and then they're going to keep walking separate ways.
I feel like Darth Vader.
And then Ron Howard's going to narrate over it and say, "One day he would be his son-in-law."
"Spoilers, dude."
You knocked it out of the park.
So what can I say? That's
So,
Han
wait,
Solo.
are you guys really upset that Darth Vader's gonna be in this?
I'm
movie?
not.
I just like I don't want it to be. I don't want it to this.
Yeah, I don't want every single thing to be like, all right, the anthology film is
Also,
kind of getting
Darth
off the
Vader.
rails. Let's throw Darth Vader in to make sure
Let's
everybody
jump
loves
40
it.
years in the future. Also, Darth Vader's here.
Yeah,
or they're
exactly.
just trying to meet the quota of having a Jedi or a
Right.
Force user.
Right.
And I know what you're gonna
I
say,
mean,
Matt. I get it.
Did you not
It
like
is cool.
Darth
Is it-
Vader
is it
in
gonna
Rogue
be
One?
cool?
But like
Right,
at
but like,
some point,
I feel
cut it out.
cheated, where it's like make the movie and don't trust yourself to the point where you don't have to throw Darth Vader in to make sure that we love it.
Yeah, but
Like,
I,
make your
I don't
movie.
know if this is all his
I'm gonna
decision.
tell you, Disney could
It
just
could be because
If it's Kathleen Kennedy's decision,
right, it could
still,
be that she was like, this movie has been a train wreck. Let's throw Darth Vader in there to make sure people love it.
Disney could just make videos and put them on YouTube of Darth Vader doing cool stuff, and they would probably get billions of views.
Forget PewDiePie.
They should just make like the Vader comics into like 5-minute YouTube
Yep.
videos, live action.
Yep.
Live
It'd be
action.
That'd be sick.
I'd
I
be
think
in,
that
man.
I think that they would probably make that a Netflix series or whatever their
Right.
streaming
And
service is going to be next
why
year.
is
in
everything
2019
when
or
it
whatever?
comes to Darth Vader being edited is like, oh, this is a train wreck. Let's add Darth Vader. Maybe it was just like, this is a great movie. No one would make it better. Darth Vader, because everybody loved him in Rogue One.
I mean, it's a fair point. I disagree with it, but
Here's
it's a fair
my thing.
point. It could be like that.
Too much of a good thing
Yeah,
isn't always a good thing.
right. Like I don't want to water down the character so much.
I love Darth Vader. I love Darth Vader being in movies, but too much of a good thing could be a bad thing.
But how?
Have you ever eaten too much pizza?
Never.
I've never
Nope.
eaten anything. I've eaten things.
Sorry, it's my little bit of my hick accent coming out.
A little bit. Of,
Have you eaten any too much
Yeah.
pizza?
Y'all go out there to say one of
you
them
know,
Darth
when
Vader
I say
wheels
pizza, I mean Italian bread with a squirt of ketchup and maybe American cheese.
too much of a good thing.
Sean and I are Northerners.
Eh,
Just couldn't
so
tell.
here's-
Go ahead.
Here's the
I
thing.
was going to rebuttal Brennan, but I get that he's just being Brennan right
Every
now. so.
time,
No, I'm actually asking.
every
I mean,
time,
like, wait, sorry, Matt. Go for it.
every time they make a new movie and introduce a new Force character and give them a super awesome Force ability, they have to go back and show how much more powerful than that character Darth Vader was.
I mean,
Otherwise, we're going to be like,
So
well,
you're
why
talking
didn't
about,
Darth
like-
Vader do that?
You're talking about like the idea of power creep.
What are we gonna be like?
can I get it one more
Why
time,
didn't Darth Vader do that?
guys? Why do we do podcasts? Let's just do impersonations because we're all so good at them.
impersonation.
I mean, like when Kylo Ren stopped that laser, what did everybody do?
They were like,
Why
"Hey, remember in
didn't
Empire
Darth Vader do
Strikes
that?
Back when Vader did something similar?"
Why didn't Darth Vader do that?
Sean rebutting my point.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, he kind of
Well,
like,
I mean-
it's more like a block.
Yeah, because people kept like asking Pablo about it, and eventually he's just kind of like his gloves are strong. I was like, all right.
Oh man.
Yeah, but then in Rogue One, he blocks a laser back with his hand,
Does he?
He
I think
he does.
He does.
Yeah.
and it's real cool.
It's in there.
Super cool.
Moral of the story: Han Solo film coming up.
Gonna be
Darth
great.
Vader's there. It's gonna be real
Oh,
cool.
look, it's our 30-minute timer
And,
telling us to end this thing.
I bet
Wait,
it's-
can we mention one thing real quick?
Really appreciate
The
it.
Yeah,
troll
Brandon,
that
go ahead.
is Mark Hamill saying that the trailer's going to come out in the 9th, but then saying, no, wait, that was just a joke.
Yeah, that's just Mark Hamill.
And Mark Hamill was
I
just
told
like,
you
I was
guys,
just talking about
first
how
thing on
bad
the
a
Slack
game the
chat, I
Bears and
was
Vikings
like,
are.
This
No,
boy,
but, like, I
he
feel like
likes
if
to
it was
mess
a-
with people.
If it was a troll, he wouldn't have deleted it.
I don't know, dude. He knows.
I think
knows
he
his
deleted it
audience
because
well.
of how the clickbait started.
I
And
didn't
if
know he
didn't-
deleted it.
Yeah,
he deleted it almost instantly.
Yeah, because of the amount of like. I mean, if he hadn't deleted it instantly, how much more of a story would this have become?
You think Kathleen Kennedy like put a knife to his throat? Said you better.
No,
delete
I
that."
thought she called him and was like, "Hey, Mark,
Can you take that down for
Um,
us? We'd really
what the
appreciate it.
f?"
There's,
Like-
the internet's kind of blowing up right now.
And-
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
The trailer's coming out a
sorry.
week after that.
I respect
Did you
Hamill
really have to
because
do that?
And then he's probably responded with some tangent about some story that happened 40 years ago.
Yep.
I respect
and then
Hamill
she's like,
because
okay.
he literally could do anything he wanted. Like, they can't kill him off.
No, I know. I love him.
He'd be like, all right, like, well, I'm going
Episode
to do
8,
this, and
rip.
you guys have to deal with it. Sorry.
Can we
Yeah.
get a sound snippet of that recorded and just make sure we have it just in case he does die? like
Go
if he
for it.
dies in 8, I just want to hear that on loop.
They
He
can't
dies
kill
in
him
eight.
off.
They could never kill Luke Skywalker.
Proceeds to kill off
Darth
Luke
Skywalker.
Here's
Skywalker.
the thing.
Luke Skywalker.
If he dies in 8 and does not turn into a Force Eagle, I'm quitting Star Wars podcast.
So first of all, could you stay true to your thing? It's a griffin. It's not an
Kathleen
It
eagle.
wasn't an eagle in
Please,
it was
episode
an
1.
eagle, and then I
Please
realized it
kill
was
him
actually a
and
griffin.
Please,
Right.
please, Kathleen Kennedy.
Can we get a
please
snippet of
kill
that?
Luke Skywalker.
Like
and make
saying
him
that
not
he wants
turn
Luke
into that.
Skywalker to die,
No,
so we can play it on a loop endlessly.
no, I want him. I want
And
him
thanks
to
for
die.
joining us.
All right,
This is
here
a
we
great
are.
time with
Okay.
episode 7. Hope you guys had a blast with us as we continue our journey. Well, some of us continue their journey through the 100 days of Star Wars, and I get ridiculed for not doing it. But thanks, guys, for listening. Hope you go ahead and keep on with that. I'll catch up for some point in time in the future that is not now. We'll see you next time, guys.